trouble.
What?
If somebody named Abramowitz needs it, I'm going to be in trouble because I always
You use that as an
use
example.
my Plony Almoni.
I knew a guy whose last name was Abramowitz. Real life. I knew him 20 years ago back in the day.
What did he do? Okay, well, because the cookies. Oh, don't take a cookie from me. They're not. They don't have a hex.
Oh, well. The cookies don't have a hex?
No.
The cookies outside packages have.
If you look up at the OU, you have to have it on the inside.
On each little cookie?
Yes.
No, because they don't wrap it.
Do they put it here in the box? I don't know it's kosher unless it has a hex. If they brought it here in the box, then I could see it's on the outside box. I have no way of knowing if it's on the outside.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The ones in the ones that look like
The sandwich
Oreos
cookies are different.
and they're even horrid.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to worry about cholesterol.
How are you, sir?
Okay.
I'm still not finished with doctors. How are you?
Well, listen, welcome
You're
to the
never
club.
gonna be
You're never
finished
gonna-
with doctors until you are.
And,
They messed up Thursday. I have to come back this morning.
okay.
You need a ride?
Oh, thousands
The
of flights.
doctor canceled your flight?
That's right.
Close enough, just like they canceled flights. I said they
That's
canceled.
right.
me.
Thousand
Appointments.
flights.
Oh,
They had 10,000 patients.
My gastroenterologist retired. So in May, I couldn't get an appointment till the end of August.
There's a shortage, by the way, of those doctors
I
in this
understand, but still,
area.
you know, I mean, if you need this, if you got something wrong with your
No, I'm
kidneys,
telling you,
can't
I'm
wait
telling you,
for it.
I know that because my granddaughter here was,
She's a gastro lady?
no, she discovered she had Crohn's.
Oh, so
And
she
as a
really
result,
needs-
the only way my daughter-in-law was able to get it shouldn't be on the tape, but the only way she was able,
Got an appointment?
hold on, to get an appointment was because she happens to be a executive secretary at FAU Medical School.
Uh-huh. So she used that clout.
Yeah.
Whatever.
To get it, and that she was able to get within 2 weeks. Okay, gentlemen, I'm going to start the learning sponsors, and then we'll go into okay.
Bed hopping little girl.
Well, we'll see. You could call her that. I will use a different term. Okay, a year of learning, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren of Toby Paris, Saratova Bad Yisrael Dov in her memory, Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachomata Bad Asher, friends of Nina Monester, Nechama Asna Bad Yitzchak Aharon, many friends of Stephen Vigdor, Lezecher Nishmat, Simcha Melech Ben Meir Leib Halevi, friends of Marcy Kurtz in memory of her great niece Leah Bracha, a month of learning in honor of Vicky and Larry Fish by their children and grandchildren, Rebecca Watansky, Lewis and Susan Watansky in memory of Rebecca's uncle and Lewis's brother Pesach Ben Yosef Yehudis, Carol and Josh Sanborn in memory of her mother Yita Bat Nachman Ben Yamin, a week of learning by Sharon and Michael Glass in memory of her father Shlomo Ben Yosef Cohen, Jack Gilman in memory of his father Yitzchak Ben Avram Chaim, Evelyn and Isaac Blachor in memory of her father, Rav Yeshayahu Yitzchak Ben Harav Yisrael Yechiel Halevi. We have today, the 23rd, a Day of Learning Plus Torah Fund by Barbara Hollander in memory of her mother Chana Bat Chaim Dov Halevi. And that is it. May the Shemas have an aliyah, Kranka Rafia, Valti Yashir Shema Talia, and the Chol B'nai Yisrael a good Gebenshtia.
Uma.
Okay. Just a quick reminder that 2 weeks
July 7th.
July 7th. 2 weeks from today is when we're planning to do the Siyum.
We haven't planned, it will probably be at Century Grill, and it will probably be at 4:30.
Yeah. All right.
Right, the final arrangements aren't set
We
yet.
have to go and talk to him, but he's usually very amenable.
Right? But we'll we'll remind everybody as we get closer. Right? Okay, where are we?
We're in both.
Yes, no, I know where we are.
Oh, on
Geographically, that's not my point. Okay.
Aleph, the
Yes,
third line.
we'll get
on the
there.
Rabbah.
Okay, so we finished Kafchet Amud.
No, we already-
No, I'm sorry. We finished. We're on Kafches Amud Aleph.
Three lines,
Okay.
2 lines from the top.
But I just want to move us in again real quick. We're dealing with the issue of Mi'un. And we finished up basically that the question was, what should be included in a text for Mi'un? Okay, that had a lengthy text, okay, where the Gemara tells us it looked too much in a situation that people might confuse it with a get. And therefore, what?
How are they to know the difference?
If you can't read.
Okay, so the example, so the Gemara then tells us, okay, there were certain commonalities. For example, you had to spell out the names, you had to generally you had to spell out location, things like that. So a less educated person, okay, might confuse the two texts, okay, or even, right? So the Gemara then tells us on the top of Kaf Chet Amud Aleph, right? Ate le'ichlufe begita. They might confuse it with a get. Therefore, takinu hachi, the rabbis therefore made a takana that the language of the get miyun, or let's say shtar miyun, okay, I'll say shtar miyun for the moment, okay, would be much simplified, okay, and therefore takinu ubiyom ploni on such and such a date, miyana plonit bat ploni, giving the name of the young woman, okay, ba'an fana, in front of us.
And then they sign.
Okay, and that would be the scene. So, okay, so that kind of a document then clearly would be much different. Yes, sir.
But the get was so much different. You had all the lines, you had all the folding, all the signings.
How many Gittin have you seen?
None.
Okay, so that's the point. That a person is gonna make a mistake. Oh, the woman has, first of all, she didn't even get the get itself. She got a receipt for it.
What I'm trying to say is that
This is what they say.
Okay, Erwin, I'm gonna give you a slightly different explanation. We saw previously in the Gemara that the question was, there were sections from the Torah that had to be recited. And we saw that the Gemara tells us that Mar Zutra wrote it all out. And to do that, he had to take a piece of something, cloth, had to score it, write it out. Okay, so I'm giving you a little different example as to why somebody who may have been, again, less educated than the average or the Dayanim could have seen a document, seen it scored, written on cloth, et cetera, long document, and that would be another reason why they could confuse it. Okay, but it's just a different approach to answering your question. Okay.
Rashi says that he's talking about a sofer who's a boor. He's uneducated, just a public stenographer. He had to get before, and then now he has this, and then
that's
this
what
after.
Well, actually, the issue was really, if you look at Rashi, that after he does this, he might make a mistake in the get.
Right. No,
And I didn't like her.
Whatever okay, so even Rashi is coming back to try to give us, Irwin, this is another good example. So Rashi gives us another possible reason.
Right.
Okay, so that the two documents could be confused by somebody. That's all.
To me, to get it very,
I understand that. Okay,
uh,
but in their day, maybe that was part of the issue. All right, so we're now on the third line of
First of all,
Kaf,
sometimes he does give her a get. I mean, it's not so.
right? It's not so pashut. Okay. All right, Kaf Chet Amud Aleph. I'm picking up from line 3. Tanu Rabbanan. Ezahu mi'un. What do we mean by mi'un? Amra, if she says, I afshi beploni ba'ali. I don't want this guy anymore, Mr. So-and-so anymore. I afshi bekidushin kidishuni. Imi va'achi. I don't want this engagement that I was made to be in, that my mother and my brother betrothed me. Okay, things like that. Yeter al Kena ma Rabbi Yehuda. And now we're going to see a whole list by Rabbi Yehuda of examples of further cases where if she says something in certain circumstances regarding not wanting to continue with this gentleman, okay, that he would consider it sufficient a statement of miyun.
And even though she's still with the guy there in the house, she said it.
Okay.
No,
Well-
no, she walks out.
Okay, the point is, remember we had previously an argument between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel, where Beit Shammai said it has to be, she has to state that miyun before a court and in front of him. Beit Hillel, however, by whom we make the halacha, says she does not have to state it in front of him, and she does not have to state it in front of a beis din of musmachim. She could state it in front of,
Well, Reb Yehuda says one person.
right, state it in front of hedyotot, common people. Okay, they need to be knowledgeable, but they don't have to be musmachim.
You don't
Okay.
have to walk out yet. Like you could still be with him.
Okay,
I think Rabbi Yehuda says you could still be with him. One of the examples.
No. Reb Yehuda says if in the middle of the wedding. She has to
We'll
walk
get to
out.
it. We'll
She
get
can't-
out.
if She's with him.
we'll
after
get to
that,
the,
it's
well,
look.
gentlemen, we'll get to the
One of the
examples.
examples.
Let's get to the examples now, okay? Okay, so Yeter al Kena ma Rabbi Yehuda. Afilu yoshevet ba'apirion, v'holechet mibayit aviha lebeit ba'ala. Even if she's riding in the bridal chair and she's being transported from her father's house to the house of her potential husband. Va'amra, and she says, I'afshi beploni ba'ali, and she says, I don't want this guy. That's a loose translation. Zehu mi'un. That is mi'un according to Rabbi Yehuda. Yeter al Kena ma Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, we're going further. As I said, most of the Amud is going to give us examples, right? Afilu hayu orchin mesubin bebeit ba'ala. Even if the guests were already gathered there at the house of the potential, right? And it's right. Vehi omeret umashka alehin, and she's acting as the hostess and serving them drinks and food. Va'amra lahem, and she says to them, "I'afshi beploni ba'ali." Okay, I don't like him. Right? Harehu mi'un. This is considered by Rabbi Yehuda again mi'un. Again, Yeter al Kena ma Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda.
Yeah, we
Okay.
take out yes.
Okay.
Stick with just Yehuda.
Okay. Afilu shigra ba'ala etzel chanvani lahavilo chefetz mishalo. Even if the husband sends her to the store for her to bring back something that he needs, or that, right? Va'amra, and she says to the storekeeper, I'afshi beploni ba'ali. Okay, I don't like this guy. Get me out of here. Ein lecha mi'un gadol mizeh. You don't have any greater mi'un than that. Okay? Now, let's go on. Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus Omer, he says as follows. Kol tinoket v'chulei. Right? So in other words, that was the whole question of what was the age we said that she was right?
Able to make me.
Was it whether
Able to
she,
marry.
okay, the age where,
She could watch the money.
Where she could marry the old man. She's a little girl, she's marrying an old man. She has to be mature enough to protect the gift he gives her. To be
that,
able to
I don't think that's the question, the age of to marry. I think it's the question of giving the age of a valid miyun. That's the point. Can she hold on to her money was one option.
Right, but
Can,
that's-
number two was, does it make vows, things
that's
like
11.
that?
So we're
Right,
talking
right,
about
different
8 and
ages.
About 8, and we're talking about
Okay, we're
11.
not disagreeing on the age. We're just disagreeing, okay, on the concept. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, the name of Rabbi Shmuel. Halacha ka Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus. The law is like, right, Rabbi and Chanina ben Antigonus. Tana, who teaches, Ktana Shalom Mi'ana, a minor, and she did not do refusal. Va'amda v'niseit, and she proceeds and marries.
Someone else.
Okay, right? Mishum Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera Omru, in the name of Rabbi ben Yehuda ben Batera, they say, Nisu'eha hein mi'uneha. The fact that she marries someone else is a clear sign that she refuses the other guy. Okay? Ibaya lahu. So they asked, right? They asked the question, Nitkat shah mahu. If she simply became engaged to somebody else, what's the status? Tashma, listen to the Braita. Katana shalom mi'ana, a minor who did not do refusal. Va'amda v'nitkat shah, and she went ahead and became betrothed. Mishum Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera, in the name of Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera, Amru Kiddushaha Hein Mi'uneha, that the act of betrothal to somebody else also is a sign of refusal. Mi'un. Ibaya laho. So they asked the following: Plige Rabbanan le de Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera. Oh no, do the rabbis disagree with Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera or not? Im timtze lomar plige bekidushin o afilu benisuin. Are you going to say that they argue with him regarding kiddushin, betrothal, and also argue with him in regarding marriage? Ve'im timtze lomar plige afilu benisuin. And if you're going to say that they also argue with him regarding marriage, halakha k'moto, or ein halakha k'moto, is the law like him or is the law not like him? Ve'im timtze lomar halakha k'moto b'nisuin o afilu b'kiddushin. And if you're going to say that the law is like him regarding marriage or even like betrothal, tashma, listen to the Braita. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, so Rav Yehuda, the name of Shmuel. Halacha ka Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera, that he says the law is like, and this is in the name of Shmuel, Yehuda ben Batera. Halacha miklal de pligi. This comes to tell us that the law was decided because it tells us that they did argue with him. Va'akati tebailach dahava nesiba meikara. O Dilma Mikadsha. Okay, and perhaps here we're going to say that she married earlier, okay, or perhaps only became betrothed earlier, that she rebelled. Okay, Tashma. What?
Was she only an arusa to the first old man, or was she an?
Well, I don't know if it has to be old man. Okay, I think the question is, was she a rusa or a mikudesh?
Right.
All right, Tashma. Listen to the following Brighton. The kalate, the Avdan, Imrod. We say that the daughters-in-law of a Mr. Avdan.
This is the same Avdan who insulted Yishmael ben.
Well, I don't know. Okay, rebelled. Okay, Shadar Rabbi Zug, right? Shadar Rabbi, Rabbi sent Zuge the Rabbanan Lemivdakinhu, a pair of rabbis or rabbinical students to go check out the situation. What happened? Amru lahon neshay. Other women said to the two
The two rabbis said to the two girls who walked out on their husbands.
No, other women.
Other women said to them, to the two girls. Okay? Chazu gevraichu deka'atu. Come and see, you've got the potential husbands coming. Okay? Amre laho. Right? They said to them, right? Nihavu gevraichu didchu. Okay? All right? Okay, so basically he's saying, let it be that these husbands,
If you want them, you can have.
you can have them. Amar Rebbe, says Rebbe, Ein lecha miyun gadol mizeh. You have no greater refusal than that. My love dahava nesiba, but weren't they already in a situation of being married? Right? Lo, dahava mikadsha kedushe. No, they were in a situation of betrothal and not of actual marriage. V'halacha Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera, and the law is like Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera, va'afilu b'nisu'in dekama, even in regards to the first or the earlier marriage. Okay, new piece. Rabbi Eliezer b'Omer v'chulei. He says as follows: Amar Rabbi Rav Yehuda ba'Amar Shmuel. Chazrani al kol tzadadei chachamim. I reviewed, he said, all aspects, all the discussions of the sages. V'lo matzati adam sheheshva midotav b'ktana keRabbi Elazar. And I did not find an individual who maintained a excuse me, common or consistent standard regarding a minor compared to Rabbi Elazar. She'asa'a Rabbi Elazar kimatayelet imo b'chatzer, because Rabbi Eliezer clarified, stated, made it fact that if she was simply walking with him in a courtyard, va'omedet micheko, and she moves away from him, okay, v'tovelet, or she immerses, va'ochelet betruma la'erev, or she's eating truma because she was the daughter of a Kohen at night. All right, what happens? In other words, any act that clearly defines her independence, right? That would be the example. Tanya Rabbi Eliezer, and he says, Omer, he says, Ein ma'asek tana klum. He said the act of such a minor is meaningless. Ve'ein ba'ala zakai lo b'metziata, and the husband is not worthy of getting what she finds. V'lo b'maaseh yadeha, okay, and not the works of her hands. V'lo b'hafarat nidareha, nor is he regarding vows. Ve'ein no yorsha, he doesn't inherit her. Ve'ein mitamela, and if he's a Kohen, he doesn't become tameh vis-a-vis her. Klalo shel davar, eino keishto lechol davar. The general principle is she is then not considered his wife in any manner. Ela shetzricha mi'un, but she does require, okay, a clear refusal. Rabbi Yeshua Omer, says Rabbi Yeshua, ba'ala zakai b'metziata. The husband is worthy of getting her what she finds, ubamaaseh yadeha, and her handiwork, ubahafarat nedareha, and in canceling her vows, v'yorsha, and inherits her, umitam ahla, and he can become tameh vis-a-vis her. Klalo shel davar, harehi ki ishto lechol davar, ela sheyotzah b'mi'un. But rather, she is his wife, and he must, in a sense, I don't want to use the word divorce, but she can use, right, she can go out of that relationship by means of a miyun. She does not need a get to leave that relationship. Okay? Amar Rebbe, says Rebbe as follows. Nir'in divrei Rabbi Eliezer mi divrei Rabbi Yoshua. The perspective of Rabbi Eliezer seems more viable than that of Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Eliezer hishveh midotav b'ktana, that Rabbi Eliezer maintained a consistent or common standard towards a minor. Rabbi Yoshua cholek, and Rabbi Yoshua switched, made it different. My cholek, what do we mean by we say he changed or made it different? Ishto, he, if she's his wife, to buy a get. She should require a get. The Rabbi Eliezer Nami. But doesn't that apply to Rabbi Eliezer as well? Ilav ishtohi mi'un nami. And if she's not his wife, doesn't she also need
Why does
me?
she need
Why does she
Mi'un,
need miyun?
lo
She's not
to buy.
a
She need me.
Right, why does she need miyun? Ela bichdei tipok, but rather to clearly allow her to leave the situation, the relationship. Okay, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer as follows. Heichi dami akva shehi min ha'ish, va'akva she'ino min ha'ish. How do we understand the situation that one could be an obstacle by the man and one could not be an obstacle by the man, right? Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, in the name of Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Teva'uha linaseh. Somebody came and gave her a engagement, asked to marry her. Va'amra mechamat ploni ba'ali. Okay, and she says to him, due to the response that my current husband would give, all right, zohi achva shehi min ha'ish. That is clearly an obstacle, and that comes from the man, right? Mechamat b'nei adam she'enam mehuganim li. If she responds to the fellow seeking her hand in marriage because people aren't
I don't think you're
suitable, they're not viable suitors, right? Zohi achva she'enam min ha'ish. That is an obstacle that is not placed by the man. Abai bar Avin, V'Rav Chanina bar Avin, the two Avin brothers, the Amrei Travayu, they both say, Natan la get, if he gives her a get, Zohi achva shehi min ha'ish. That is clearly an obstacle placed by the man. V'hu asur b'krovoteha, he is forbidden in her relatives. V'hi asura b'krovav, and she is forbidden to his relatives. Upasla min kuhuna, and she is invalid to marry a Kohen. Mianavo, if she gave a refusal to him, Zohi achva she'ina min ha'ish. That is an obstacle that is not placed by the man.
This is exact opposite.
Right? Exactly. V'hu mutar b'kroveteha, he's permitted in her relatives. V'hi muteret b'krovav, she is permitted to his relatives. V'lo pasla min kuhuna, and she is not invalid to marrying a Kohen. Hakatani lekaman, hamam enet be'ish, hu mutar b'krovoteha, v'hi muteret b'krovav. But here our Mishnah says, or actually the next Mishnah is going to come up and tell us, okay, if she refuses this man, she is permitted with his relatives. He is permitted to her relatives. She is permitted to his relatives. V'lo paslam in akuna, and she is not invalid for a Kohen. Natan la get, if one gives her a get, hu asur b'krovoteh, he is forbidden to her relatives. V'hi asura b'krovav, she is forbidden to his relatives. Hu paslam in akuhuna, she is invalid for Kohen. Prushe kimefaresh, and it spells it out. Matnitin, and here we get now specifically to that particular Mishnah, right? Okay, hamam enet ba'ish, one who does, a young woman who does refusal to a particular man, hu mutar b'krovoteha, v'hi muteret b'krovav. He is permitted to her relatives, she is permitted to his relatives. Lo pasla min kuhuna, and she is not invalid for marrying a Kohen. Natan la get, if he gives her a get, hu asur b'krovoteha, v'hi asura b'krovav. Giving the get, he is forbidden to her relatives, she is forbidden to his relatives. Upasla min kuhuna, and she is forbidden to a Kohen. Natan la get v'hechzira, if he gives her a get and then takes her back. Okay. Mianabo, and she refuses him. That's, we'll call that Mr. Abramowitz. Okay. He divorced her, takes her back. She refuses Abramovitz. I don't want to marry you whatsoever. V'niseit la'acher, and instead she marries Mr. Schwartz. Venit armala onit garsha. And now she becomes a widow or divorced from Mr. Schwartz, right? Muteret lachzor lo. She is permitted to go back to Abramovitz, right? Okay, miana bo vehichzira. She refuses him, but she goes back to him. Then Natan la get. And then Abramovitz gives her a get, all right? V'niseit la'acher. Then she goes and marries Mr. Schwartz. V'nit armala onit garsha. And she becomes widowed or divorced from Schwartz. Asura lachzor lo. She is forbidden to go back to Abramovitz. Okay, let's go on now. Okay, zehaklau. This is the general principle. Get achar miun asura lachzor bo. A get after, excuse me, the refusal, she is forbidden to go back to him. Miun achar get, refusal after a get, muteret lachzor bo. She is permitted to go back to him. Hamam enet beish v'niseit la'acher. If she refuses a man and marries another, vigirsha, and is divorced. Okay, la'acher, she goes to another one. Okay, umi anabo, and she refuses him. La'acher, to another. Vigirsha, and she's divorced by him. Zehakla, this is the principle. Kol sheyotzah himenu baget, one who goes out by means of a get, asura lachzor lo, she is forbidden to go back to him. B'mi'un, but with refusal, muteret lachzor lo, she is permitted to go back to him. Gemara, Alma, therefore, says the Gemara, ate mi'un umevatel get. It would appear then that a refusal can come and can nullify a get. Or minhe, but we'll challenge this idea with the following text. Hamam enet ba'ish, okay, she refuses a man, v'niseit la'acher, and marries another vigirsha and is divorced, la'acher, and goes to another, umiana bo, and refuses him, la'acher vigirsha, to another, and she becomes divorced, zehaklal, kol sheyatzta himenu baget, whoever goes out by means of a get, asura lachzor bo, she is forbidden to go back to him. B'mi'un, with regarding refusal, muteret lachzor bo, she is permitted to go back to him. Alma, therefore, lo ate mi'un dechavre ubatel gita dedei. That tells us that a refusal to another, okay, and it comes and nullifies his get.
No,
Ubatel gita didei, and it comes to nullify the get that is his. Right?
Yeah, we're dealing with a katana.
All right. Right. Lo ate miun, that the meun does not come.
nullify the get.
The get. Okay. Right. Right. Okay. We're dealing well. Maybe she's no longer so much of a minor.
Well, the Gemara is going to say that.
Right.
By the time she has 5 husbands, we don't call her a minor.
No, she's pretty active. Okay. Amar Rav Yehuda Mashma. Tavra. Okay. What is he saying? That this text is broken. In other words, the Mishnah itself is problematic. Mi shashana zo lo shana zo. One who taught this didn't teach the other. Right? Amar Rava, says Rava. Umay kusha, what's the question? Dilma mi'un didei mevatel get didei. Perhaps we might say that the refusal towards him, okay, nullifies the get, the previous get. Mi'un dechavre lo mevatel gita didei. But refusal of another does not nullify his get. Umay shna mi'un dechavre lo mevatel gita didei. And what is so unique about the refusal to another, okay, that it doesn't nullify his get? Okay, says the Gemara, Aide demir keret baramizuto bekaritzota. It's possible, says the Gemara, that she would recognize his hints and his gestures. Okay, what happens? And therefore she wouldn't marry that other guy. Azal, okay, mishabesh umaytela. Okay, and he would lead her, okay, to come back to him. Miundide, regarding his refusal towards him. Namino levatel gita dide. Okay, maybe that also doesn't nullify his get. The ide de makeret v'remizutav b'kritzotav azil mishabesh umaytela, because there too maybe. Okay, he could do hints and gestures, right? Okay, and cause her to, right? Again, lead him back, all right, to come back to him, right, and not marry the other guy. Hakfar shibsha, maybe she's already been, okay, led away. Velo ishbasha, but our text tells us that she wasn't led away, right? Ella ikasha, but if there's a problem, all right, dechavre adechavre kasha. Okay, the problem is from one person to an
Where it's multiple men.
And the problem is then with her.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What's the difference? Why does he have to give a get of me? And if he gives her a get, she can still go back to him.
If there's no intervening man.
If she gives him me and she cancels the get.
Right.
Isn't that right?
If she gives miyun, she doesn't need a get.
But suppose he gives her a get first,
That's what we said.
and then she's me, then she's miyana.
The
She
million,
doesn't need the
the
meal.
million
Once she gives her-
retroactively
Once she gives her a
cancels
gap, the marriage is
Okay.
under
If he
normal circumstances.
If he
when
gives
he
her
gives her-
one, if he gives her a get, that ends the
That ends the
relationship.
relationship.
But it was a relationship.
Okay.
But can she go back?
Wait,
to-
okay. Wait a second. Could she go back to him?
Yes.
So long as there are no intervening
Right,
man
but you
in
can't go
between.
back to him.
Yeah,
So the get is almost meaningless.
no,
no.
no, the difference is that Miyun nullifies the marriage. There was never any marriage. She's still a Anua. If he gives her a get, that validates the marriage,
Okay.
and she's now a Garusha. However, if he takes her back
Without an intervening man.
without an intervening man, and then she says Miyun, that nullifies that relationship,
Right.
and it retroactively nullifies
The
the
previous
first
one.
relationship as well.
But
So,
as if there was never a
as
get.
if was
Right.
never anything.
Yeah.
So if she now marries Abramowitz and he divorces her, she can go back to Schwartz because she was never had a relationship with him, even though she lived with him for 6 months.
Okay. You know what an annulment is, right?
Yes.
In regular marital law, right?
It's if it was never there.
Okay. So think of miyun in a sense, almost like it
As an
becomes an annulment. All right? It's
But
as if the marriage never occurred.
And it's even more powerful because it can even nullify a get marriage
Right?
if the Mian comes later and she's still less than 12 in a day.
Right? Okay.
Which is
All right.
weird. 5 husbands and she's 10 years old.
Me-
But all right, busy little girl.
Well, maybe it wasn't her. Maybe it was the mother and the
They're not
brother.
allowed, only once.
Who says?
That's the halacha.
Where? I didn't see it in the Gemara. That was Beit Shammai.
Look in Shulchan Aruch.
I'm not looking at
father
Shulchan
and
Aruch now.
She can arrange these other relationships.
That
on
may
her
be.
own.
I'm not looking
They
at the
cannot
halacha now.
do
I'm
it.
looking
Once
at the
they do it
Gemara.
once, that's
I'm
the end.
only looking at the Gemara.
No, the
No,
Gemara didn't mention it.
It doesn't
but that's
mention
the
it. So
halacha.
how do I know that? Okay.
Because I told you, because I
No.
looked it up.
Okay. So that's the halacha today.
The more
So
dear,
that's why
more
the
said the
Gemara says
concept
she's
that they
doing
don't
this
want to
all
make
on
her.
own. She ain't such a little.
No,
the
that was
daughter's
Beit-
this hefker
That was
besnos.
Beit Shammai's view, right? That was Beit Shammai's view.
Yeah,
answer.
that because if the
Okay,
husband, if the
right,
brother or
okay.
the- and
All right, let's go
farm her
on.
out, it
Guys,
doesn't
all right.
say,
Mianabo vehechzira, okay? If she refused him and then went back to him. Natan la get v'niseit la'acher. Then she receives a get from Mr. Abramovitz, and she marries v'niseit la'acher, and she marries Schwartz.
nah, she can't go.
Okay, right? Because there's an intervening person, right, Zev?
And the
Okay,
second relationship ended with a get.
right,
So it was real.
right. V'nit armala o nit garsha, and she becomes a widow or divorced from Schwartz. Asura lachzorlo. She is forbidden to go back to Abramovitz. Ta'ama, the reason being, denit armala o nit garsha, okay, that she became widowed or divorced. Ha, miana. But here we said she did miyun, she did a refusal. Muteret lachzorlo, which implies she is permitted to go back to him.
Because the second relationship
Right.
never happened.
Alma, therefore, ate miyun de chavre umevatel gita dide. This would then tell us that along comes miyun and it nullifies his get, right? Or minhe, but we'll challenge this. Hamam enet ba'ish, one who gives refusal to a man, this young minor. V'niseit la'acher, and she marries another. V'girsha, and is divorced. La'acher, she goes to another husband. Umianabo, and she refuses him. Zehaklal. Here's the general principle. Kol sheyatzta mimenu baget, asura lachzorlo. One who goes out by means of a get, she is forbidden to go back to him. B'miyun muteret lachzorlo. But with the miyun refusal, she is permitted. Alma, therefore, lo ate miyun dechavre umevatel gita dide. Therefore, this tells us that the miyun does not come. The miyun for the other fellow,
Schwartz
right,
doesn't
does not
cancel
come and
Abramovitz.
cancel the other get, his get. Amar Rabbi Elazar. So what does Rabbi Eliezer says? Tavra. Again, our text is broken. Misha shanazo lo shanazo. One who taught one thing didn't teach the other thing.
Back to
Right?
what the Mishnah
Ula Amar, says Ula. Kigon sheshlosha begittin. Okay? Ula's suggestion is, right, that you have three gittin. The mechazeya kegedola. Okay, after that situation, she appears more like she's a
grown up.
more mature, okay.
Well, Gedola, 12
okay,
in a day.
class more than 12 years. Ma'antana, who's the one who teaches it? Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, in the name of Rav. Mai dichtiv. What do we have where it's written in the text in the Torah? Miyamenu bekesev shatinu, atzinu b'machir yavau. Okay, that pasuk, right? B'sha'at hasakana nitbaksha halachazo. Okay, so the Gemara gives us actually a historical reference here. At the time of the sakana, which we said was the Roman control, Hadrian and all the decrees and things like that. Okay, we've come across this before. Nitbaksha halachazo. This halacha was requested. Harei sheyatsa mirishon baget. If she leaves the first relationship by means of a get, umisheni b'mi'un, and from the second relationship, okay, by refusal, mi'un, mahu shetachzor l'rishon. Is it possible that then she can go back to the first? Because we've nullified that second. It's not a marriage, so she really didn't have an intervening person. So therefore, shouldn't she be able to go back to the first?
But they forgot
Right?
that there.
Okay. What happened? So notice the interesting, again, historical element here. Sachru Adam Echad. They hired somebody. Okay. Ba'arba me'od zuz, for an amount of 400 zuz. V'sha'alu at Rabbi Akiva b'beit ha'asurin.
Guy had to get arrested.
Okay. They paid him 400 zuz either to
Go to jail.
go to jail or to sneak up by the window there, all right? Va'asar. And Rabbi Akiva said it was forbidden. Now, what happens? At Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera, ben Nitzavin, they sent somebody to Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera who was in Nitzavin, which was at Gabriel. Okay? Va'asar. And, okay? And he also, forbade it. Amar Rab Shmuel b'Rebbe Yossi. Lezo lo hutzrachim. All of that wasn't necessary. Uleisur karet the hatarta. And where we have a prohibition of karet that you permitted. Leisur lav lo kol shekein. Wouldn't you therefore permit a situation that was, so to speak, simply a lav?
Because going back to the first husband, after
Is
divorcing number two,
Two
is
is
only a lav.
right?
But going to like a yibum case,
That's a karet.
would be a kares were not it permitted.
Okay, lo kosher. Bram, however, kach shalu. Maybe this is how they ask the question.
So they rephrased the
Right.
whole thing.
Hare haita eshet achi imo. There was a situation where it was a secondary relative. Okay, he was the brother of the mother. Okay, shehi shniya lo. She's secondary relative to him. V'nasa achiv me aviv. And she married his brother through the father. Umate. And the second
And that man
gentleman died. Mahu shetima'en. What about then if she refuses? Hashta. Right? V'te'akrinhu l'nisu'in kama. Here, maybe we have her uproot the earlier relationship. V'tityabem atzarata. And let her co-wife have Yibum.
which normally, if she's an erva, the co-wife
Right,
is
normally
free.
wouldn't, right? Yesh mi'un la'achar mita b'makom mitzvah olam. Is there mi'un refusal after the death, okay, in a situation where, okay, we have the option of
She
doing a
says,
mitzvah?
I don't want
No.
to sleep with a
Okay.
corpse.
All right? What happens here? Sachru shnei b'nei adam. They hired two men, ba'arba'a me'odzuz, and they paid them
The
for it.
Mefarshim take out the two. It's the same guy with it.
Uba'u v'sha'alu et Rabbi Akiva. He went and asked Rabbi Akiva b'beit ha'asurin va'asar, and he forbade it. Et Rabbi Yehuda ben Batera ben Itzavin va'asar, and he also forbade it. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak ba'ar Ashi'an umodeh Rav, and Rav acknowledged shemuteret la'achiv shel zeh. Okay, that normally she would have been permitted to this fellow. Shena Esra Alam. That here she was told that she is forbidden from him. Right? Pshitahu. Isn't that obvious? Nihu demakeret b'ramizotav b'karitzotav. Okay, why? Because lest she recognize his sweet talk, his gestures and things like that, prohibiting her. Right.
I think you have that backwards. That if it were her husband, he could sweet talk her, but she doesn't have as close enough.
Well, we're not there yet.
relation with
Aval
the brother.
achiv. Now we're to that. Aval achiv, but
He's
but
a
with the
stranger.
fact of it's the brother
He's a
of that
stranger.
fellow, and she does lo mahu detema. Lo, no, that's not the case. Mahu detema. What might we say? Ligzor high, atu high. Maybe the rabbi should make a decree and prohibit this. Okay, lest this. Kamash Malan comes to teach us that's not the case. Ve'ika da'amre, and there are those that say, Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Ishan. This is what he said. Kashem she'asura lo, kach asura la'achim. The same way she's forbidden to him, so forbidden to the brother. Vaha eina makeret, krisotein v'merizotein. But, says, she doesn't recognize any sweet talk, any signs or gestures that he might do to prohibit the marriage. K'zera achiv atuhu. Okay, right, and they did such a gzera, okay, to prevent such a
That's
situation.
what Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Huda ben Beseira were instituting that Gzeira.
That could be, right? Okay, all right, gentlemen, we'll pick up tomorrow on the bottom of Kaf Chet Amud Mei with this new mission. Okay.